Well, hey there. Welcome to the Movement Clinic. My name is Emily, and today I am breaking down Wild Thing for you. So this is one of my favorite poses to use in all types of classes. I love it as a transition pose. I love it as a peak pose. I love it as part of a peak flow. I just love Wild Thing. So make sure, first of all, that you are warmed up. This is kind of a big back bend. It also demands that we bear some weight on our hands. It also requires for us to have a really open chest and that our balance is really in focus. So make sure that you kind of hit all of those points so that you can try this with me safely. And I'll see you on your mat. Okay, so for Wild Thing, as I mentioned, I love this pose because it kind of hits the trifecta of yoga, at least for me, or of yoga asana. So it helps us with stability or strength. There's a lot of mobility required here so that we have open hip flexors, really open chest and heart. It also requires that we have some balance that we've tapped into. So love this pose. And let's start breaking it down. So there are 4 elements to this that I want to point out. And I'm going to start from my back facing you, just because I think it'll help to point out a couple of things. So first and foremost, there is this place where your gluteal fold meets the back of your thighs or your hamstring, okay? And I want you to take your pointer fingers underneath that gluteal fold or butt flap, right? And I want you to squeeze your fingers and feel how the sit bones curl under as you squeeze your fingers, and your sit bones really lengthen and tailbone lengthen towards the backs of your knees. So this is a really big thing with active hip extension. So that's one thing. We're gonna need that little move, that active squeezing of the lower part of our glutes to really help with hip extension, okay? Number 2, anything that is touching the earth is actively pressing away. So that's one hand, that's long leg at the bottom, and that's bent leg, foot behind, okay? So everything's actively pushing away, okay? So that's 2. The other thing I want you to focus on is the active stretching of the sides of your chest forward, or active thoracic extension. So the active lengthening of the upper back, okay? I can't tell you how often I kind of see like a really stiff upper back taking these over. So let's really actively think as though someone were hooking their thumbs underneath the backs of our armpits and pulling our chest forward and up towards our chin. Okay? And then the last thing being, we've got one hand down, but we have one lifted arm. And oftentimes I see people with the palm kind of facing out and flipping up towards the sky. And what I want is for that palm to turn down so that we have external rotation of that upper arm bone. It creates more space in the neck here where our neck meets our shoulder. It also just does a lot of things in general for kind of having the shoulder in a position where we want it ideally, okay? And then you can, again, for the gaze and for balance, you can look up at that lifted hand. You can start to try to gaze at the floor behind you to help create that more active extension in the upper back. But those are the 4 points. So active squeezing of the gluteal folds or clamping those gluteal folds onto the backs of the hamstrings and using them to press up so that it extends the hips up. Actively pressing down into whatever's touching the mat. Actively stretching the sides of your heart forward and up towards the chin. Lifted hand, palm turns down so that armpit faces chin, and we have a nice broad shoulder blade, but more importantly, again, lots of room and space in the neck. gazing wherever we want that helps us balance. So let's go. We're gonna come into down dog. And gaze back at your feet and step your feet together at the back of the mat so big toes touch. And I want you to roll forward to plank pose. Now let's roll to the outer edge of our left foot. Press down into the left hand actively. All four corners of the hand as you reach your right fingertips to the sky. Now even here, curl and clamp those gluteal folds down on the backs of those hamstrings. Float that top foot, bend the knee, plant the ball of the foot behind the left thigh. Now, we have those gluteal folds clamping onto the backs of the hamstrings to send the hips up, pressing down into everything that's connecting onto the mat, and then actively stretching the sides of our chest forward and up. Lifted hand reaches out, palm faces down, gaze at the hand, or maybe gaze down at the floor. Good, and then come back through center. Now let's try with the other side, and this time I'll do it so I'm facing you. Okay, so down dog. Remember those 4 elements, curling of the sit bones underneath you so that you can clamp the butt cheeks onto the backs of your thighs and use those to actively press the hips forward and up, pressing down into everything that is touching the earth, stretching the sides of the heart forward and up towards the chin, lifted hand turns to face down, gaze for balance. All right, big toes touch at the back of the mat. Roll forward through plank pose. Roll to the outer edge of the right foot. Press down into that right hand. Left hand floats up. Left foot and leg float up. Bend your knee, squeeze heel to butt. Plant the ball of the foot behind your right thigh. Now, curl the sit bones under. Clamp those butt cheeks onto the backs of the thighs and press up, up, up. Press your feet and that right hand into the mat. Stretch the sides of your heart forward actively. Top hand reaches forward. Gaze at the palm. Maybe gaze at the floor. Now, if that lifted hand doesn't like to be up, you can bend at the elbow, place the palm on the back of the head, wrap the arm close to the face, and press the head into the hand. Maybe that feels better on the shoulders for whatever reason. Okay? So, obviously, lots to think about in a wild thing, but lots of fun to be had there too. So please, 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 let me know what you think of this in the comments, and by all means, please leave any requests that you have for tutorials and poses in the future. And I look forward to seeing you next time at the Movement Clinic. My name's Emily. See ya.